afternoon, everybody, and thanks for being with us. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from the KXAN Live studio on this very busy Tuesday in the Texas State Capitol. Governor Greg Abbott is about to hold a public bill signing event where he's going to sign into law this new legislation that will create new penalties for catalytic converter thefts. And this was inspired by a law enforcement officer's death last year. And Senator Carol Alvarado, who you see there in the center wearing a blue dress, she introduced this legislation because the law enforcement member in question was from the Houston area, and that's where she represents. Governor Greg Abbott came into the room just a few moments ago and is greeting a number of the legislatures and other members of law enforcement, as well as family members of the victim in which this act is named for. And there you see coming up to the microphone, he's going to sign this legislation into law in just a moment. His first public bill signing since this legislative session ended. Let's listen in as this gets underway.
We're here today to sign a stack of bills that deal with law enforcement, deal with public safety in the state of Texas. One thing we all agree upon is the importance of providing resources that will make our community safer, as well as supporting our law enforcement in the state of Texas. I'm going to be signing at least 8 bills focused on public safety and focused on protecting our fellow Texans and to hold criminals accountable. One of those bills holds rogue district attorneys accountable. Listen, if a district attorney wants to be in law enforcement, they have to start by enforcing the laws of the state of Texas. We will also be signing bills that rein in the rash of illegal street racing. We've seen this arise across the entire country, even right here in the state of Texas. We created a task force to crack down on the street racing, and it worked very effectively. That said, we know that law enforcement needs more and better tools to be able to crack down and eliminate dangerous street racing in communities. I'll sign a bill addressing that. I'll also sign a bill to deter catalytic converter theft, punish criminals who remove ankle monitors, and a law that puts violent criminals behind bars for longer if they leave their victim permanently paralyzed or facing serious brain damage. And I'm signing a law to provide much needed support for our rural law enforcement officers. We're going to provide more than $330 million in grants for sheriffs, constables, and prosecutors in rural counties to bolster the pay for hardworking law enforcement officers, some of whom are working on the front lines. Before I go into that, I want to allow representatives of leading law enforcement agencies in the state of Texas to say a few words. We will start out with Cleet.
Thank you, Governor.
Marvin, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to be here today. I'm Marvin Riles, President of the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, known as CLEAT. I'm from El Paso, and I'm just grateful that Greg Abbott is the governor of Texas. We want to thank Governor Abbott for working with us, for allowing us to present the working law enforcement officers' side of proposed legislation. That's who I'm honored to be representing here today. Governor, HB 17 begins the process of allowing the citizens of Texas to be able to hold some of these out-of-control district attorneys accountable for intentionally and arrogantly refusing to do their constitutional duty by enforcing the criminal laws of Texas. These George Soros-backed woke DAs are refusing to do the job they were elected to do by the voters. What happens when a DA refuses to bring charges against criminals? Where do the victims go? Where do police officers say to victims when the charges are systematically dropped? By attempting to undo laws passed by a duly elected legislature, these woke DAs have sent a clear message to the criminals. Don't worry. In Texas, your drugs, your illegal weapons, and your crimes won't be prosecuted. Instead, we blame law enforcement and prosecute officers doing the job and protecting the community. Governor, we believe you are the strongest voice for law enforcement officers in the nation. Thank you for signing these pro-law enforcement bills. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Marvin, and thank you for every man and woman a member of CLEAT and the great work they did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now TMPA.
My name is Kevin Lawrence. I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Municipal Police Association. We represent over 32,000 law enforcement officers from over 2,000 different agencies across the state of Texas. And the governor's done a great job of explaining what these bills do. And even though they address several different issues, several different problems, we believe they've got a couple of things in common. One is that they will make our citizens, our communities, and our state safer. And the other is that they will give our law enforcement officers more and better tools to do their jobs. And the third, we believe, and we hope, it will help stem the crisis we're having in recruiting and retaining qualified law enforcement officers. Governor, we appreciate the work these legislators have done in passing these bills. We appreciate you signing them. And we really appreciate the fact that you always put public safety at the top of your list of priorities.
We got your back.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Appreciate
all
it.
members of TMPA.
Will do.
Thank you. So the first bill that I'm going to sign is HB 28. It's known as the Todd Hoagland Act. Two residents in House District 59 in Erath County were victims of aggravated assault and sustained traumatic injuries that resulted in paralysis. While the victims will endure lifelong hurdles, under current penalties, the criminals are already eligible for parole. What the bill does that I'm going to sign is increases the criminal penalty for aggravated assault from a second-degree felony to a first-degree felony. If the criminal uses a deadly weapon during the assault and causes a traumatic brain or spine injury. It aims to protect all Texans by putting violent criminals who cause lifelong irreversible injuries behind bars for a very long time. I want to thank Representative Shelby Slauson, who's not with us, as well as Senator Brian Birdwell, who is, in getting this bill to my desk. We also, if I understand correctly, is it one or do we have two victims here with us?
We have two.
We're on either side.
Ms. Hogland's daughter has passed away. She's deceased.
Well, why don't y'all come on up here by my side as I sign this bill. My date's covered up on March.
That's the 6th.
Okay.
It's D-Day.
Y'all here? Got everybody? All right.
Oh.
There you go. Can't tell how many people we have here.
I think that was.
There we go. The Todd Hoagland Act is now law in the state of Texas. You're on the same family? There you go.
Thank you, Governor.
Senator, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you get one already?
She did.
Did you want Ms. Allison to have one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you like me to give one to
That'd be
Shelby when I see her in
great.
Erath? Yes, sir. All right, I will do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, everything.
If you're just joining us, Will Dupree back in the KXAN live studio. Governor Greg Abbott is having his first public bill signing event after the legislative session ended last Monday. A number of bills, 8 in total today, focusing on public safety efforts, everything from catalytic converter death to additional penalties for cutting off an ankle monitor. Let's listen in as this next bill gets signed.
Last year, Harris County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Almendarez was shot and killed when he tried to stop 3 men attempting to steal a catalytic converter from his vehicle. These catalytic converter thefts have increased substantially over the past few years. Catalytic converter theft has become an organized and often violent crime. So what I'm going to sign today is going to increase criminal penalties for offenses involving a catalytic converter, as well as to create a new criminal offense for unlawful possession of a catalytic converter. And we have with us here today the spouse of Harris County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Almendarez. And if you would right behind me, great. And I want to thank Senator Carol Alvarado and Representative Jeff Leach for getting this bill to my desk. SB 224 is now law in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Governor. My son and daughter.
Here we go. There you go. There you go. God bless you.
Thank you.
So next is House Bill 17 that Marvin Riles made reference to moments ago. The fact of the matter is there are some district attorneys in the state of Texas that adopt policies and make public pronouncements that entire classes of crimes will not be prosecuted in their jurisdictions. The role of a district attorney is to enforce the law, not make it. If they want to make state policy, they should run for the state legislature rather than district attorney. The law that I'm going to sign adds that the policy or practice of refusing to prosecute a class or a type of offense constitutes official misconduct for purposes of removing a district attorney from office. For removal proceedings, it requires the appointment of a judge from outside the district attorney's district. The goal here is to hold district attorneys accountable and prevent the refusal to prosecute offenses. I want to thank Representative Cook and Senator Huffman for getting this bill to my desk. House Bill 17 is now law in Texas. Great job. Thank you. Next is House Bill 2899. This is one of two bills I'm going to sign today that deal with street racing. Illegal street racing is a growing problem. Texas law enforcement needs new tools to curb illegal racers in Texas who threaten the safety of everyone around them. What House Bill 2899 does is it requires a vehicle to be impounded to the nearest licensed vehicle storage facility if the owner is charged with the offense of racing on a highway or reckless driving exhibition. Current law only allows this if there was property damage or someone was injured. This law removes that requirement. And I want to thank Representative Lisa and Senator Bob Hall for getting this bill to my desk. Thank you. Congratulations to you. Of course.
Good job. Thank you, Governor. Appreciate you.
Well, when it comes to street racing crimes, it does not stop there. We have House Bill 1442. On top of what I just announced, this bill adds the offense of reckless driving exhibition and racing on a highway to the list of crimes under the engaging in organized criminal activity statute that authorizes the forfeiture of any vehicle seized in the commission of a crime. This creates a new section of code under the obstructing a highway or other passageway statute that allows vehicles and other contraband used during street takeovers to be seized by law enforcement. I want to thank Representative Ann Johnson and Senator Paul Betancourt for getting this law to my desk. House Bill 1422 is now law in the state of Texas.
Thank you.
It's a bigger version of Ann you're using.
So next is Senate Bill 1004. I'm signing a bill that imposes harsher penalties on parolees who tamper with monitoring devices.
SB, hi, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's 1004, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I think so,
It is now.
yeah. I'm gonna claim it. Pretty sure it's
Again, SB 1004 that imposes harsher penalties on parolees who tamper with monitoring devices. Tragic murders were committed in Dallas and Lake Highlands by two parolees who cut off their ankle monitors. As of last night, there was still, in a separate crime, a man missing in Dallas County right now after cutting off his ankle monitor while waiting for his murder trial. This law makes it a state jail felony for anyone to tamper with or remove an electronic monitoring device they're required to wear as a condition of release. It becomes a third-degree felony if the parolee is monitored under the Super Intensive Supervision Program. It allows law enforcement to prioritize the investigation and apprehension of an offender. Its goal is to deter and hold accountable parolees who have ankle monitors as a condition of their release. I want to thank Senator Huffman as well as Abe Herrero for getting this bill to my desk. Senate Bill 1004 is now law in the state of Texas.
Governor.
Good job. Thank you.
Next is Senate Bill 840. This is also known as the, help me with the pronunciation here, Jackie Puka and Annette Flowers Act. Our healthcare workers in Texas are under increasing danger and assault. As just one example, last October, 2 healthcare workers were killed at Methodist Dallas Medical Center by a violent offender who was on parole for aggravated robbery. What this bill does is to increase the penalty for assault to a 3rd-degree felony if the offense is committed against a victim that the criminal knows is a hospital personnel while the victim is on a hospital property. Our goal is to deter violence against healthcare workers in the workplace. I want to thank Senator Royce West and Representative Anchia for getting this bill to my desk. Senate Bill 840 is now law in the state of Texas.
There you go. And she's not here, right? He's back. Oh, thank you, man.
Next is Senate Bill 22, which involves rural funding for law enforcement. There we go. This provides rural counties in Texas with $330 million to bolster their law enforcement staff. It establishes offices of salary assistance grant programs for rural sheriffs and prosecutors for counties with a population of 300,000 or less. This helps 236 of the 254 counties in the state of Texas. It increases salaries of sheriffs and their staff, provides funds to hire more staff, and aids in the purchase of things like vehicles, firearms, and safety equipment. This funding will also increase the salaries of assistant attorneys, investigators, and victim assistance coordinators. I want to thank Senator Drew Springer and Representative Ryan Guillen for getting this law to my desk. Senate Bill 22 is now law in the state of Texas.
Congratulations to you,
Appreciate it.
of course.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Once again, that's all the bill signing for today. But once again, I want to thank all of these House and Senate members for working so hard on an issue so important to our fellow Texans, and that is supporting our law enforcement officers, providing them the resources they need to protect their communities, as well as focusing on the public safety of our communities, responding directly to victims of violent crime, working for solutions to ensure we will prevent others in Texas from being those victims. With that, we'll be happy to take a few questions.
Governor, will you accept Lieutenant Governor Patrick's challenge to a Lincoln Douglas style debate on property taxes?
So when it comes to property taxes, what really needs to be done is to focus on reaching an agreement between the House and Senate. And the only thing we're going to focus on this session and successive sessions is making sure we pass property taxes. The good news is we've already agreed to the amount, which is historic, $17.6 billion. Now an agreement needs to be reached between the House and Senate to get a bill to my desk.
Governor, would you sign any form of bill with a homestead exemption in it?
So we need to provide an answer in context for that. What I'm looking for, and what the House has passed, is a bill that achieves and moves toward transformational change in the state of Texas. One thing that we've been involved in session after session is chiseling away at property taxes. The goal that I've articulated, the goal that the House is supporting, a goal that's been supported by the leading tax reform entities in Texas and in America, as well as organizations like the Texas Public Policy Foundation, is to use money to engage in what's called compression, which is buying down the property tax rates of maintenance and operation in school districts. Every dollar we spend should go toward that goal so that once and for all, we can be known as actually eliminating one of the property taxes in Texas. Anytime that we use money for an alternative strategy, that's taking money away from a clearly articulated goal that Texans want, and that's to eliminate that maintenance and operation tax forever. For those who do not know, that's the largest part of a property tax bill that we should focus on trying to find a way to eliminate.
We have time for 3 more questions.
Governor, have you had conversations with the Lieutenant Governor since the House signed died last week?
So we and our staffs, as well as with the Speaker and his staffs, we continue to talk regularly.
Have you talked directly to the Governor?
Yes.
Do you plan to call future special sessions to bring the House and Senate into agreement?
So we're going to stay focused on this until a solution is reached. And so I'll call special session after special session after special session until a solution is reached.
Governor, what about the Lieutenant Governor's contention that you've been misled by the TPPF?
So if you look at his contention, it's based upon facts that I've never relied upon. He talked about eliminating all property taxes. My focus, as well as the focus of the Texas Public Policy Foundation and other organizations, has been on eliminating the maintenance and operation school district tax, which is the largest part of property taxes in the state of Texas.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
No, we can take a few more questions. They start playing it.
Governor Hansford for the Texan, what is your message to Senator Paxton as she considers her role in her husband's impeachment trial?
That's up to her to decide.
When it comes to the law that was just recently signed, specifically with district attorneys, how is it exactly going to be enforced? Like, who's the person who has to bring forward a complaint or a case, like, you have to investigate this DA because X, Y, and Z? How is that going to work?
Who's the sponsor of this? So you?
Yeah. Any individual that's lived in the county for 6 months or longer will be able to bring the action, file a petition for removal, and then it'll be handled by a district attorney in an adjoining county as assigned by an administrative judge.
Dr. Abbott, following up on the question earlier about the varying versions of the property tax plans, Mr. Governor Patrick in an earlier news conference said he wouldn't think he would veto the Senate's version of the bill if it were to come to your desk that included that property tax exemption. So what's your specific position on that proposal in the Senate as it stands now with that 100K?
So what I know is this, and that is the approach taken by the Senate right now is an approach that we've taken in the past. And it's a good approach in the sense that it is similar to what we did in 2019. In 2019, we began the pathway led by the Senate to be involved in reducing the maintenance and operation component of a property tax. The difference now is that over the course of the year since 2019, Texans have continued to complain about their property tax bills. The fact of the matter is, what we have done, we have reduced, or let's say increased, the homestead exemption. But no one has really felt the benefit of that for one simple reason. Because of inflation of values of homes, that erodes the value set of a homestead exemption. What taxpayers would benefit from even more is a complete elimination of that property tax rate altogether. And it's the compression of that ongoing property tax rate year after year after year that will lead it to that result so that their rate is zero and their property tax will be zero as it concerns schools in Texas, which is the largest part of the property tax bill.
Should the House be sent its 99 motion and come back to work under this session?
Listen, I'll give you the perspective that I had the observation from that the public did not. I had the opportunity to speak at one table with both the Speaker and Lieutenant Governor and hear day after day, hour after hour, what their positions were on these issues. And what I found before the end of the regular session is that the House and Senate were completely dug into their positions. And they wanted to stay in that position, and they were not going to move. When you looked at the positions of each of them, the largest part of the proposal that each of them had was this compression component. And that's exactly why that's what I put on the special session call, because I knew it was the largest part of each property tax relief bill, as well as the only component that was shared by both sides. And the House agreed to modify their position and take that position.
Governor Abbott, there's been a criticism from the Lieutenant Governor, who mentioned it today, that it's not your responsibility to list specific things in the special session call, saying that it's the lawmaker's responsibility to actually pass bills, that you're supposed to give them essentially the subject or the topic to address. What's your response to that? Is it up to you to put specific things on the special session call?
All that stuff is process talk. The people who do not care about process are the taxpayers of Texas. What taxpayers of Texas want, they want us to cut their property taxes, period, regardless of process. Get it done, and that's what we're going to do.
Governor, you last week announced a short-term interim plan for HG. Is there a longer-term interim plan should it come to it?
Only one step at a time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
There, Governor Abbott is concluding his first public bill signing event since the regular session, I should say, ended last Monday. A special session is still underway regarding lowering property tax relief and also adding new penalties for human smuggling. Today's bills focus on public safety matters, for instance, catalytic converter thefts, as well as people who have an ankle monitor, cutting that off. There was also funding for rural law enforcement there, the last bill signed. And again, there were a suite of 8 bills that he put his signature onto, and now they are officially law in Texas. Some of them will go into effect at a different time, but that has started that process at least. The last questions there, a lot from the reporters in the room, were about what will happen during this special session. There is an impasse over reaching a deal on lowering property taxes. The Senate has one version, the House has another. The House passed its own version of it and then concluded the special session, leaving only the Senate to work at this point, and essentially saying that, you can agree to our plan, and that will get sent to the governor's desk, and then this issue will be resolved. We heard from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick earlier this afternoon saying that he is still dug in on his position and will not agree to what the House would like to do. So now this impasse persists. What the governor said just a few moments ago, and I just want to quote him, he said, "Get it done, and that's what we're going to do." So again, we're going to have to see who will shake. He also did not answer the question about this idea about debating Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick in a Lincoln Douglas style debate. The Lieutenant Governor challenged the governor to that debate just early this afternoon. If no deal can be reached on this property tax plan and this call to end a portion of property taxes here in the state, the governor did not take the chance to answer that question. So perhaps he will answer it at another time. He'll have to be asked again. We want to thank you all again for watching. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio. We'll see you back here again soon. Take care, everybody.